happened. It has finally happened. I'm in the game, the e-bike game. The industry looked me up and down, they stared me in the eyes and said, Matt, you're ready. Welcome to the e-bike party. And when I arrived at the e-bike party, I looked above the door and it didn't just say e-bike party, it said e-bike party hosted by Marin. The Marin Alpine Trail E1 launches today. This is the Alpine Trail bike that I know and love for enduro riding. I rode the Alpine Trail in Finale for the Enduro World Series. I took it to Hardline, and now somehow there's an electric battery and a motor inside the Alpine Trail, and it's sick. I'm absolutely buzzing. Marin have launched an e-bike, and now I'm part of the crew. Can you imagine? Like, I grew up around the first Nokia mobile phones. Technology was bleak. The PS1 worked at the time. If you look back, you're not going to spend much time playing that. Now, there is batteries, cables, motors in a bike, and if you think about that concept, it's actually insane. I'm pretty late to this, as you can tell. You guys probably watch a lot of e-bike content. Some of you might own them, but I know a lot of people that watch this channel don't even ride bikes, so I can't stress how exciting this is to have a bike that can pull me up the hills. I rang my brother this morning to tell him about the e-bike, and he described it as being gifted a pair of Chris Hoy's legs, which is a cool way of looking at it. That's an interesting analogy. I personally don't want a pair of Chris Hoy's legs because I like wearing skinny jeans, so I see it more as, it's like, well, what everyone likes doing is riding downhill. No one enjoys riding uphill. If you do, you're a weirdo. So it's like going to the theme park and getting one of those fast track tickets to get on more rides quicker, because this gets you to that ride, the bit you like, and kind of ignores the bit you hate, which is queuing. So it's a queue jumping pass. Marin have launched their queue jump pass today, 2020, December, with the Alpine Trail E1. So let's talk about this bike before I ride it and go wild and mad and talk to you about all the things electric, which again, I know you've seen before. You've seen Sam Pilgrim backflip one of these. I'm sure I'll figure that out, but right now, I'm buzzing. This is a mullet, which means it's got a 650B 27.5-inch rear wheel, and the front wheel is a 29er, so it's got a bigger front wheel. That gives all the attributes and benefits of a playful bike. A smaller wheel does feel more playful in turns, and you can really throw it into turns and rip corners harder and tighter. But a 29-inch front wheel lends itself to grip, but more so it kind of rolls through those holes that are in corners. So it apparently feels like you get pulled round turns more, and it's very cool that they've implemented that concept on an electric bike where you can enjoy the downhills so much more because you haven't had to work as hard to get there. That's the thrill of it all. So we've got a big front wheel, so a 29er fork. This has got 160 mil of travel, 150 mil of rear travel with a coil, which I think's sick. It suits this bike down to the ground, having a coil shock and not an air shock. And bearing in mind there's also an E2 coming out, which has got a higher spec all round, but I love the colour of the E1. I think that candy red, or whatever it's called, looks sick. And just having that big burly down tube full of fuel and whatever it is. I mean, it's not actually a kickstart. If you do that, that's not how you turn it on, but it does feel a bit like a sick motorised vehicle, I guess it is. It produces 60 Newton meters of torque. And we just checked, a Porsche GT3 makes 470 Newton meters of torque, the new one. So if you think about a bicycle makes, what's that as a percentage? Like 15% torque of a supercar. That's mad, isn't it? Have I got that right?
Yeah, don't ask me, mate.
8 of these will have more torque than a Porsche race car. Pretty mad. So we're going to find out what it's like to be pulled up a hill for once, because I've spent my entire mountain bike career pushing up hills, and now I get to get pulled up them by Chris Hoy's legs. It's got 10-speed drivetrain. I guess you don't need loads and loads of gears and a huge ring when you've got 60 Newton meters of added leg power. It's got 165 mil cranks. You can't change the cranks because they're all built into the drivetrain, whatever it is, the motor. I'm still learning all this. But I am going to upgrade this bike with my sponsor parts, which is going to be sick. It's my first mullet, it's my first e-bike. You turn it on with a button, it makes a beep, and then you can control the settings. It uses the Shimano steps system, currently off, eco mode, trail mode, party boost mode. And now we're ready to go. I'm only ever going to ride it in boost. I'll run the battery flat, then I'll be pushing the heaviest bike I've ever owned up a hill, but at least I can enjoy it for the foreseeable future. 4 piston brakes, which are very powerful, a huge 203 mil front rotor. Bigger the rotor, the more stopping power, and for a bike that is naturally heavier, that's not a negative, it has an engine in it, of course it's heavy, you need that stopping power. So let's ride it. And to do that, I've come to some sick loam tracks built by the Brink Bike Shop guys. I think this is perfect. It's a short ride up and a short ride down, so we're just going to do an awful lot of laps, Ben. Let's do it. Woo! Back on the ride! What? Honestly, this is ridiculous. I'd have usually done one run and have a sandwich already. Oh man. This is berserk fun. The loam track's running the best I've ever ridden it. And I was nervous that this, like the weight of this bike would push through the corners, but it just feels like an Alpine Trail until you get to the bottom. You do a power drive drift out of the last turn. It just sends you on your way back onto the ride. I'm buzzing. I remember the first time I rode a dropper post, bouncing up and down on a dropper post was like a hack. I remember thinking that makes biking so easy. But that's such old technology now, and this, it's just, yeah, bikes are incredible. I'm very, very lucky to have had the chance to ride and own one of these. I think this is going to be a super successful bike, 100%. I was skeptical about e-bikes, that's the truth. I know a lot of people still are. I'm a big fan of an acoustic bike. I thought an electric bike was cheating, that's the honest truth. I thought, ride a proper bike, mate. What are you, unfit? Like, do you not want to train? Do you not want to try? But it's so fun. I'm very fortunate. I'll still ride all of my other, like my standard Alpine Trail, but come in here and just going bah, 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 4 runs when I'd have definitely done 1, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
You've stopped and talked about a bird or something. Just don't stop. If your mum is sick, or your dad is sick of cleaning your riding shoes, tell her it's time for an e-bike, because your feet don't have to touch the ground. They won't get dirty. You can't get, I'm wearing a white Cadence jersey. See me get dirty out here, not gonna happen. I'm not gonna stop. I'm interested to do some jumps though in a bit, but let's do some more of these tracks. There's loads of tracks here. Buzzing. Woo! Woo! That's the best. Oh, Ben, have you ever seen me return from a mountain bike run with such a chipper and preposterous amount of energy?
I've not, mate. Wow.
Mate, it doesn't feel heavy. I think loam tracks is the piece of the puzzle that enables e-bikes to be their best, says the guy who's just ridden one for the first time. But the soft dirt, how can I describe this? Okay, it's heavy. You know that, it's got, electric motors are heavy. Teslas weigh more than petrol cars, and they certainly weigh more than bicycles. But the weight's at the bottom, it's right at the bottom. So when you're riding, it's so easy to tip the bike over like you saw there. The weight's then in the bottom of the berm, where the grip is. It's supported by a loamy corner, and the fact that it digs in gives you the ability to then turn it the other way. So those corners there, I want to say feel better on this than they've ever felt, which is strange. And I get to ride them a hell of a lot more than on an acoustic bike, strumming away. Should we go and hit some jumps?
Yeah.
We'll go to Chick Sounds and see, because cornering's one thing. I do like me jumps, so it might be different getting this thing far off the floor. But like I said, I've seen Sam Pilgrim like tail whip an e-bike, so I'm sure I'm capable of getting it airborne. You feel the weight when you land, but in the air it's just a bike. It is just a bike.
Yo.
Well, it does jump. I expected all the weight being low down to feel great on tracks like it did, but maybe that'd be a hindrance on jumps. But it's not at all. It's just a bike. It's a sick bike, and I've seen what's possible on e-bike. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to upgrade this bike with all my sponsor parts, which I always do, which is sick. I've got some cool ideas for drivetrain, suspension, to make this bike very much my own, and it'd be my first ever dream e-bike dream build. And then I'll leave it up to you guys to figure out where I should go, but I'd love to hit my compound, airbag and slopestyle jumps on this first, just to actually do some flips, do some tricks, and then I'll be pretty up for building an e-bike course in my garden while the trails aren't running. In fact, the backyard jumps might only be doable on an e-bike with the power to churn through the mud, so we might unlock winter backyard sessions. It's good. Thanks Marin, the Alpine Trail E1. Well, it's epic, isn't it? Buzzing. See you in the upgrade video tomorrow morning, so tune back in 2 days time. We're doing it, legends.